Ladies and gentlemen, today's podcast, John Henson.
So what show was it?
This is Bertcast.
He is exhausting as a friend. I was just talking with Segura this morning. You can move that mic any way you need it, see fit. I was talking with Segura this morning about Ari. He's like, it's like having a bull mastiff. You don't realize,
and you don't want to walk in the home if Ari doesn't know you're not coming in.
You do not want to have a run-in with Ari. God, your skin is fucking awesome.
Are you kidding me, dude?
Are you part Asian?
I wish I was. Dude, I rolled over the odometer this summer. I turned 50 this summer.
You do not look 50.
And I'll tell you, man, when you turn 50, it's like... The big thing when you turn 50 is like, there's just really no excuse for not knowing what you're doing in your life. Like at 40, in your 40s, you can pass it off that you can still do that. Like, well, I'm a late bloomer. I'm a comedian. But by 50, it's like, no, you really ought to know what the fuck you're doing now. I
have not been drinking this month as often as I normally do. And part of me is sitting there going, Why didn't we do this a tad bit earlier? No, I'm not saying just like last year.
You don't do warehouses. Right?
Oh my God. I'm so much more productive and so much healthier when I don't drink.
Yeah.
And I just said it to the point, my stand-up's so much better. I did Irvine this weekend, and Thursday show was phenomenal. Both Friday shows amazing. Early Saturday show, maybe the best show I've had. And then late Saturday, my wife sends a cocktail to the stage, and all fucking bets are off. I did 2 hours of new material.
Whoa,
and
2 hours.
just rambling. Fucking rambling. And I was like, and everyone loved it.
It was good though, right? It wasn't just...
I would argue it's not, but everyone seemed to like it. Everyone was like, that was amazing. And I was like, yeah, it could have been really good.
I did 2 hours once when I was doing colleges, and they did I was in I don't know, Minnesota or something, and they were like, the 2 opening acts got snowed in. Can you do their time? And I was like, can I have their money? You know? Hey, do you know who Vic Henley is?
Of course.
You're right. Vic Henley, greatest story ever, man. He goes, when he was just starting out, he was emceeing in Alabama, and a guy goes, headliner can't make it. Can you do his time? And he goes, I got 5 minutes of material. I can do as long as you want. and I was like, it would have been stretched for me to do an hour, but I was like, 2 hours? Absolutely. No problem. I'll do it. I'll figure it out.
Done. Yeah. I remember the first time I headlined was in the Laugh Stop in Houston, and I was filling in for Dane. So there were people that still showed up. They were coming for Dane.
Right.
And this is like the peak of Dane. But he had canceled. And they were like, you got to do an hour. And I was like, no problem. And got up on stage and realized I had 35 minutes. I had 35 minutes, and if I talked fast, it was 20.
Yeah, right. 35 minutes if everything is going well. On
with applause breaks. That's with applause breaks.
Right.
But yeah, wait, where did you start stand-up?
So I started in Boston. Right around the same time as Rogan and Greg Fitzsimmons and those guys, like late 80s.
So what an interesting... See, I always say, there's no one's going to know the path that someone like you had, because that path no longer exists whatsoever.
I just had this conversation with somebody. I was like, when I started in TV, I was obsessive about kind of learning every step of the way, right? So I learned how to produce, I learned how to write, I learned how to show run and all that shit, and sort of a linear progression, rode the ladder up. And then now you can be fucking 16 years old and have a smartphone and be shooting shit and have 5 million viewers, and you can make more money than you ever could on TV. And I'm like, thanks for coming up with that fucking innovation right after I dumped 25 years into a linear progression of learning shit that's now obsolete.
Oh, I remember when they switched over to DV tapes. Then I remember when they went from DV tapes to cards. I remember just watching things, which I think ultimately it's good, but there is no, I got an offer to host something today, and I was like, what the money they paid, I get in one read in a podcast.
Right.
And I was like, nah.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to go to New York for 3 days and
Right.
shoot stuff on the street with a director who doesn't know what they're doing.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, these kids are like, why am I going to take a pay cut to go into TV and take notes from a 48-year-old man in a shitty suit who doesn't understand what I do?
Doesn't get what I do and doesn't get what he does. Doesn't understand. Like, that's the biggest problem. I think me and you have a very, very similar path in that I think obviously you were much more successful in your path than me, but I was on that path. Like I did the talk shows, hosting gigs. Like I would have definitely, by the way, dream job would have been Wipeout. Dream job.
Dude, I realized when I was driving over here, I fucking had that stuff for your kids in my office for months. And I literally just took it down to the basement and I was driving over. It's like, this would have been the perfect time to come.
My kids, that was probably one of the greatest shows that's ever been on television.
Well, it was an awesome ride. And my son, who's 6, has just discovered it. So now I'm literally paying for downloads of my own show because he's discovered it years after it went off the air, you know?
How was like I want to talk about Wipeout, but let's get there.
All right.
Because I can't tell you if what I do with this podcast derives as an iota of the pleasure that show gave me and my family, because it hit when the girls were just babies,
right?
But they got it, and they used to go, "Here comes the motivator."
Yeah,
it was the great. Let's get to that. But so when you started stand up, how soon did you move to LA?
I actually moved to New York. So I was I went to Boston University freshman year. I started an improv troupe. When I left that improv troupe, Greg Fitzsimmons took my spot.
Really?
Yeah. So that's how long we go back. You know? Talking about like, God, 30 years now.
That's the OGs.
And then I did like sophomore year, I started doing stand up. It was like the next logical step in exploring comedy, you know? And, you know, I was like anybody else. Like I did like 5 open mics and I was like, done. This is what I'm doing. Yeah. My dad was on the board of regents for public education in Massachusetts when I dropped out of college to do stand-up. My dad was like one of Michael Dukakis's advisors for his presidential campaign.
Really?
There was like whispers that he was going to become Secretary of Education. And I, you know, called my dad, who is from Arkansas, son of a coal miner, and was like, I'm going to do stand-up now I'm dropping out of college. And dude, literally that's the look on his face. Like he was like it was like I told him I was going to guess weights in the circus. He was like, God. What? And I'll never forget this, man. I took him out to brunch in Boston. I went out to brunch and he paid. Yeah. And I told him and my stepmother that I was going to drop out of college, and he was like, "Oh, I think that's great." And I'm the youngest of 5 boys, and I called all my brothers and I was like, "Dude, you're not going to believe this. He was so cool." And they were like, "Oh yeah, let me know how that goes." And the next morning he called me at like, 7:00 in the morning. He goes, "Hey, I just want to let you know, I canceled your health insurance. I figure now that you're on your own, you're going to want to take care of that yourself. And you'll never get another dime from me." Click, and hung up. And I was like, "What?"
Wait, shut up. So because your dad was raised by a coal miner.
Yeah, dude.
So your dad had in Arkansas.
Yeah.
I'm guessing your dad was born in the late 30s.
Yeah. So it was like, I mean, he's 85 now.
So probably 34.
Yeah. And it was like, look, my dad there are aspects of my childhood that are pretty hard ass. Like my dad was a hard ass. But when I grew up, I realized that like, if my dad was a hammer, his father was a fucking wrecking ball. Like, my grandfather didn't own a pair of shoes until he was 11. And he bought them with money he made himself. He dropped out of school at 11 to work in the mines 12 hours a day. He made $1.27 a day, came home, gave his parents the $1 for room and board, kept 27 cents. And he was from a big family, so there wasn't room for him in the house. Him and his brother slept in a fucking tent in the backyard.
And he's paying $1 a day for rent.
And so my dad... my dad and my mom got married young. He had kids, and he
How
was
young?
probably like 19, 20.
God.
So when
in Arkansas?
When he was 20, he had like a kid and a kid on the way. And when he graduated, he goes, my dad gave me $100 bill and goes, best of luck in life, man. And if anything good ever happens to you, you make sure and call your mother. She'd love to hear that. And just like got in a car and drove away. And my old man was like, what? I am on my own.
Dude.
And
do you have any spectrum for like a spectrum of appreciation for how that man just doesn't exist at all?
It is. He really is a throwback. Like he is one of those like self-made guys. He came out of University of Arkansas. He got a job at IBM, and he was all of a sudden he's working, competing against guys from schools that he had only read about, like Yale and Brown and Harvard, and and just self-made dude. And, God bless him. Like he just didn't understand. He literally just couldn't wrap his head around what I was going to do. And to this day, like, I joke about it, but it's true, man. I mean, when my wife and I got married, it was like, I think the beginning of the third season of Wipeout. And I went home after my honeymoon. I'd just done like 2 late night shows in a span of like a month. We were pregnant with our first kid. We hadn't told anybody yet. And the week that I was home, Wipeout was the #1 rated show on all of broadcast television for the week, right? So I'm coming, like it's a fucking victory parade
it's a
for me.
good feeling.
Right, And my dad pulled me aside at a barbecue that weekend and goes, you ought to do something smart, like take advantage of this opportunity, get out of this business, open up a Dunkin' Donuts franchise. And I was like, I have the #1 show on television right now. Like it is, I cannot get higher in my industry than I am.
Yeah.
And he was like, and like to be clear, like he doesn't mean as an investment. He means you fucking go down at 4:30 in the morning and open up and make those,
Yeah.
And to this day, man, my father told my brother a month ago, I think it's about time Johnny changed industries. My brother goes, he's 50. He's been doing this for 30 years. What is he going to do? And he goes, I think he'd be real good at sales.
You've done probably, I'm going to guess, 3,000 episodes of television throughout your career.
Probably, yeah. A couple thousand hours, easy,
Like what but it's so interesting. Like I remember the first time I made like money, like I don't know how much money it was, but it was. I remember saying something to my dad, and my dad's like, "Buddy, I just don't understand any of it." He's like, "I don't even know what to do with your money. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd say buy a house. I don't know. I don't maybe hold on to it." Like he just was like because he has such a panic for my. I remember when I took the Travel Channel show, he was like, I just don't do it. Don't do it. And then it started working. He was like, okay, I was wrong.
Right.
And then I stayed at Travel Channel too long because I had his mentality of life and I said this to him at the beach house one time. I said, well, it's like your motto, eat shit and cash checks. And he started crying. He goes, no, you're too talented to eat shit and cash checks. Leave the network. And I was like, what? And he's like, you got to take, if you're ever going to take a chance, do it now. I was like 42. Or 43. He was like, take a chance now. And I was like, he was like, I didn't take enough chances in my life. And I was like, oh man.
Fuck. Yeah. Oh shit, this is about your life.
I was like, thanks a lot, Jameson.
No, man, I get it. I mean, my dad is like he's a bit of a wet blanket, but it's the sad part is he's fucking right. Like he'll go, you don't have a career, buddy. You have a series of jobs that go from A to B. And when you get to B, you don't know when C is going to start. It could start in 6 months. It could start in 6 years. Like you don't know how long that money's got to last you,
That is it's a weird feeling in this business. So when you got done Talk Soup, what did you feel? One of the things I wanted to ask you is how do you know what to turn down and what to take?
It's funny, man. My manager used to say the no's in your career are just as important as the S's. And I've had some costly no's.
Really?
So I left college, moved to New York.
Yeah.
Did stand up there for like 7 years, and booked Talk Soup, And it was one of those like, everyone I knew was auditioning for Talk Soup. We all auditioned for it.
I remember watching Talk Soup in college. What year is this? Wait, hold on. When did you get on it? In 95?
I started January 95.
I remember when you got on in 95 because Kinnear left, then you.
I started guest hosting at the end of 94. It was so weird because like I remember, first of all, I was a rabid Talk Soup fan, like psychotic Talk Soup fan.
Yeah.
And so when I got the audition, I remember like telling my girlfriend at the time, like, this is, I honestly, like, this is the kind of show that I feel like I'd be good at. Like if they let a nobody do this shit, I could do it. And I came home from the audition and I was like, I think I did really well, I might have got that. And I heard nothing for like 8 or 9 months. And then I was watching, and then I got a call from my agent going, you got a call back. And I was like, I thought that was over. And she goes, no, they've been looking all over the country. They saw like 3,000 people in 5 different cities over 18 months. And she goes, they said they like you. They want to have you back in. And I remember coming home from that call back and going, I fucking stuck my landing like a little Yugoslavian gymnast, man. I mean, that was it. And it was the only time in my life that I have ever been told the exact thing I did in an audition that got me the job. My executive producer at the time, Alex Duda, was like, because they give you copy and they want you to improvise. And so I was in the audition, I was teasing to break, and I had to do like a coming up on Jerry Springer, my grandma's a criminal. And then I just threw and I go, not my grandmother's on the grift, which is a totally different form of short con altogether. And she goes, it was the use of the word grift and short con so authentically, you know? She was like, we were like, all right, let's give that guy a shot. So I came out, did a few guest hosting spots, and then I took over in 95, and it was just fucking, we were just talking about this.
That's a game changer.
Yeah, it was a game changer. And it was also like, people forget, like E was not the E that you see when you're watching the Soup.
All they had was Talk Soup.
Dude, when I took that show over, it was airing 4 times a day. Like they just did not have anything to put on. So it was like viewership through attrition. It was every 3 hours it was on. And there was a trade-off. The trade-off was, the Soup, whatever, they had like, I believe Writers Guild writers. They probably had a staff of 8 or something like that, to do a half hour a week. We had 3 guys doing 2.5 hours a week. And they were making like $1,500 a week. Like there was no money, right? But the trade-off was I did over 1,100 shows there in 4.5 years. I never had one note session ever. No one ever fucking talked to me about what we did on the air. I showed my scripts to the executive producer. After like 3 years, she left. I became executive producer, and then we didn't show our scripts to anyone. And we did shit that was just wrong. Like you could never get away with it now. Yeah. Never. Like really, really deeply inappropriate, offensive stuff, but they were just happy that we would hand them a tape and be like, there's a half hour, you can air that. You know what I mean?
So that, and that was back when like, celebrity was, there wasn't any reality television.
No, it was, somebody said to me, and I thought this was a good way to put it. They said Talk Soup was YouTube before YouTube, because it was where you went to go see the viral videos, like the 1-minute clips from the crazy talk shows, right? It was where you went to go see the transvestite midget fight from Jerry Springer. And, it was just, let's put on a show in the barn. My mom made costumes. I mean, we didn't, like, I was so naive that like I thought I had crossed the finish line. I had a job in television. It never occurred to me. I was 27. It never occurred to me that I could get fired, right? Yeah. So like all I was trying to do ever on that show was just make the dudes in that room laugh. Like I had no concept of ratings, or there was no social media back then. You had no clue whether or not it was resonating. Yeah. You know what I mean? So all your only basis as a live performer. I was just trying to make the guys in the crew laugh. And
I think to go back to what you said before that is now what is YouTube is just trying to make, like, all I try to do on this podcast is stay interested, and if I'm interested, I figure they're interested.
Right.
And that's the only litmus you have, and that was what you were doing.
Right.
And it changed so much to now television is so much about brand friendly and is this on brand? And you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's changed so much when it should just be, is this funny to us?
Right. I used to do this recurring joke about like alluding to being molested by my Uncle Carl. It was always like, I would always start out a story by going, oh, that happened. Something similar happened to me once. Like we did, there was a clip of Dr. Scholl's did like a dirty sneaker contest. And we came out of that clip and I go, oh, I was in something like that once. And my crew guys, you off camera, oh yeah? And I go, yeah.
That's right, I forgot.
It wasn't a dirty sneaker contest. It was a dirty underwear contest, and it wasn't sponsored by Dr. Scholl's. It was sponsored by my Uncle Carl, and but I won. And you just hear Tom, my stage manager, go, "What'd you win?" And I go, 6 stitches. Slow tear, and then we fade out, like just doing like whatever we could think of to make ourselves laugh.
No, how was it perceived by the network? Was there like,
I think they hated me.
Really? Yeah.
I mean, it was, they definitely were not into me.
Did you have big Hollywood power agents? Because for those of you listening, this is at a time, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I know through my experience, this is at a time where people would tell you, agents would tell you, don't host. You'll get stuck as a host.
Right.
Be an actor. You want to be an actor.
Right.
And they were like, sitcoms maybe, but we really want you to get in films. Sitcoms now, you can launch into film. Like, this is what they were saying back then. They're like, but if you host, we'll never get into acting. And I remember I got a deal at FX to host a show, and I got a sitcom deal at the same time. They're like, we only think you should take the hosting gig because we have this development deal. So they'll see you as an actor. But it was like, did you have ICM and CAA? And
I mean, I had like once I think I changed agencies once I got that show, and yeah, I mean, they had just lost Greg Kinnear, so my contract was like rigid, bro.
Really?
I could not do anything else.
Really?
Nothing.
Oh, that
In
sucks.
fact, my first year on the show, they had said like, we'll, in success, we'll revisit your contract. Cause I was making no money. I mean, I'm not kidding, dude. I was making like maybe 10, 15 grand a year more than I was working as a comic. And to do 52 weeks of programming a year. Like, I had 2 weeks off.
No time.
But if I wanted a week off, I had to double tape shows for there was no taking time off. So, but I was so happy. I mean, I was just so happy, but like, I think my first or second year on that show, I got offered a sitcom deal by Disney, and Dean Valentine at the time was the head of Disney, and he drove over the hill into Hollywood to meet with the president of E. I think the guy's name was Lee Masters at the time. And he goes, we want to do a sitcom for John. We'll build a Talk Soup set on the Disney lot. We'll pay all of the employees. You can bring them all over to Disney. He can tape in the downtime of his sitcom, and we'll pay his salary. And he goes, I want $1 million to open up the contract to let him do it. And I remember my agent saying that, like, Dean Valentine got up and was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? You made me drive over the hill to ask me for $1 million to let to let me pay for the production value of your show." Walked out, and that was it. And that's when I realized, like, oh man, they're not going to let me do anything.
So is that when you started going like, all right, it's time to?
Well, it was hard because, like, all of a sudden I went from being a club comic to being on television, and Talk Soup was a big deal back then. Really, it was like having your own one-man SNL. Like, it was really, you got to do the sketches.
Touring was what it is now. if it was then what it is now. Touring right now is probably biggest than it's ever been.
Oh, dude, the biggest mistake I ever made in my career, because I left New York, I came to LA. Within 3 weeks, E started covering the OJ trial. So all of a sudden, they were like, hey, we need the studio by 8 a.m. You have to be out of the studio by 8. I need you at work at 4 or 4:30.
Yeah.
It was like doing Good Morning America. Like, I was like, what? I had to go to bed at like 8, you know? So I didn't know any of the clubs out here, didn't know any of the comics, didn't know any of the bookers, and I had to go to bed at 8, and I couldn't travel on the weekends because I had to do a Friday show. So I blink, and I've been out of stand-up for like a year. And then I'm doing well on TV, and I was like, well, you know, other opportunity, you know, and I just kind of got away from it. And I was lucky enough to keep working as a host in television, but like I stopped doing stand-up for 16 years, dude.
Whoa.
And dude, you'll love this, man. When I ran into Greg Fitzsimmons, and he was like, dude, you got to get back into stand-up. You know, you're a comic. And the weird thing was, I think I probably became a much better writer writing for TV, because you have deadlines, you have to, you know, generate material. You don't get to choose what you write about. Like, I was a dude that just wrote on stage, or I said something funny, and then
Who the fuck is that?
I don't know, man.
He was doing levels in the pool.
Oh, he's our pool guy? Okay, keep going.
You want to go jump that dude?
Nope.
I got your back.
I just like, my wife's fucking a 10. That's our fucking pool guy? He's fucking gorgeous.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem.
He's a SoCal stud.
This is a silver fox.
Jesus. Oh, he's right up my wife's alley, too.
So wait, I'm coming back. So, oh yeah. Look at that guy.
Fucking got Converse on. So
and he knows pH levels like that alone.
I can't even turn my pool lights on. I don't know how to do that. My wife's like, it's an app, and I go, I don't know.
Nah. So Greg was like, you got to get back into stand up, right? So I finally get my shit together. I go down to do a set at the Improv, and I run into Rogan, right? And I hadn't seen Rogan in like 20 years. And he remembers, he's like, hey, what are you doing? I go, I'm doing a set, man. I haven't done stand-up in like 16 years. And he goes, and I remember like the next, like a week or two later, I heard him. He didn't mention my name, but he told the story to somebody that he was like, I ran into a guy that I started out with, and he's going back after like 16 years. And I was like, I don't know, man, that's fucking, but you know, that was like years ago. And then I ran into Rogan. Rogan did a benefit that I did for a coworker once, and he saw a piece of my set, and he was like, dude, you know, TV's great, but you want to be independent of that shit, you know, go back to stand up, get yourself a tasty hour, do a fucking Netflix special, you know, get independent of the TV industry, and then you're your own boss. And it was like, you know, I mean, you know, Rogan, it was like sitting down with Tony Robbins. I was like, yeah, you glorious son of a bitch. I'll follow you straight into hell, man. I'll do it.
He can, dude, he's an extremely inspirational dude. I mean, the way he's got his life set up right now, I'm kind of modeling mine after that in the production side. Because I go, yeah, why wouldn't you just have your own fucking shingle? I used to want my own shingle, meaning like, for those who are not in Hollywood, I think that was the term of when a studio sets you up with an office. Mm-hmm. And they're like, hey, make stuff for us. But it was all their money, so you didn't have to go out of pocket.
Right.
Well, nowadays, I can go out of pocket.
Right.
And just purchase a warehouse.
Right.
And then set my podcast up in there, set production office up in there, make stuff and go, oh yeah, I can do it on my own. And watching him take, and you know, Corolla's really the first one I've ever saw that did this. Joe's always done it, but in his own way, you know. But watching Corolla and Joe do that, I just go, yeah, I can make, like, I don't want to be beholden to anybody.
I tell you, man, like, I know it sounds, he has no idea, because I don't think I've seen him since that night. That was like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
But like, that fired me up, man. Like, I literally was like, you know what, man, he's right. And
and you have it both ways, where you can take the money that the networks pay you and work for them, and then create your own stuff also.
Right.
But there's also, I mean, you have such a brand's the wrong word, but such a recognizable brand in that you could do so much. You could do what Jimmy Dore's doing, that that pop up politics or
Right.
the politics talk. There's so much stuff you could do that goes online, that lives online, that people would assume is network television.
Right.
They would assume, like, you know, for me to do like a sit and talk into the microphone single shot is fine. But a lot of people go, who is that? But when you do it, your face pops up and they go, oh, this must be ABC's or NBC's or CBS's new. Like you, and so in a weird way, you've got the stamp of approval of like this is legitimate. And I mean, you can almost go up and running without anybody.
Well, it's weird, dude. I feel like I've been riding two horses because, there's like my TV career, which is totally different. But then, I'm totally like I'm behind the eight ball because like for guys like Joe and Greg that never stopped doing stand up and have been doing it for 30 years and they have a giant following. I don't, you know what I mean? Like I need to build up.
You have a huge following. They just don't know where to follow.
They just don't know where to follow me. So that's the next thing for me is I'm actually sitting down this week with somebody to talk about getting into the podcasting game and
It's
start.
super easy. I know a guy who can set you up.
Dude, I have a beautiful HD camera. I've got lights. I've got lav mics. I've got all the equipment. I just really need to get it set up so where I can get it out.
All you got to do is it's very, very simple in that I did this by myself for 3 years. And then I got to a place where it was overwhelming me to do it by myself because I would bring in, like, it was like the setup, like the setup of going, are the cards cleared? Are the mic levels good? Is everything sounding okay? Like, right. I'd be panicking about that in the middle of the interview and not paying attention to the interview. And then I'd be like, wait, one mic's picking up this audio. And so, but you definitely got to do it. But there's also, you should take a look at Chris D'Elia is doing it really well. Chris D'Elia is probably doing it better than anyone in my opinion right now in that him and Theo Vaughn's doing it.
Yeah, allegedly.
Where they just do a single camera, single mic, and then talk
right
about whatever's going on in the news or whatever is going on in their lives. And you could do that. I mean, they're basically doing Talk Soup. They're not doing Talk Soup. It's about them.
Yeah, it's an interview, but yeah.
But you could do something like that. Put it out once a week, daily, morningly. Like do it every morning for 30 minutes. Stream of consciousness, your voice, your personality.
Right.
And so many people would see you're so recognizable that they'd see you and go, oh, this is legit. Like
right.
It goes on Facebook and it gets shared instantly.
Right.
Live stream it on Facebook, put it on YouTube, put it on across all platforms. I just think, you're someone that all of us know. I mean, I've known who you are since I was a kid.
Well, I got really lucky. I mean, Talk Soup was awesome. I did that for 4.5 years.
You were in a fucking Blink 182 video the other day. I'm at Kevin and Bean, and we're talking about the fucking guitarist who's a little off his rocker.
Yeah.
Who's funding aliens.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. Look, I'm not shitting on that guy at all.
He's got government sources.
Dude, I like what he's saying, and I hope he's right. That's all I'll fucking say.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't shit on anybody. I do. I take that back. But privately. And we're watching the video, and you just popped up in the fucking Blink 182 video. I was like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, no, that was crazy, man. I remember, because I forget that I did shit like that.
I bet.
That whole era of my life was a haze anyway,
You boozing?
Oh, dude.
Really? You don't drink anymore? Oh, yeah, we talked about that when I started Sober October.
Yeah. No, they sent my jersey to Cooperstown, bro. I'm all done.
That must have been fun, though. Early 90s, late 90s.
I called it enjoying the rich bounty of basic cable, man.
Oh.
That was like, we were living it, man. We were living it. It was fun.
What I think a lot of people forget about you, but I do not, is you had a gray streak in your hair.
Yeah, man. It's still there, but it's like the rest of the gray is blend. I'm turning into a Lord of the Rings character, dude.
When did you get that as a kid?
I was born with it.
Really?
Yeah.
So your whole life you had it.
Yeah, and then I made the mistake of first week on Talk Soup because Greg's nickname was Soup Boy, and I made the mistake of referring to myself as Skunk Boy. And it just fucking stuck, bro. I mean, I'll still be walking down the street and, somebody will just from a car, Skunk Boy,
Did you ever think about coloring it?
No,
That's so.
Not
I
for
remember
me.
that distinctly.
I did color it green for St. Patty's Day on Talk
really?
Soup. Yeah, we were always doing shit like that.
I remember that. I remember when I was like, I'd never seen that before. I have since seen a guy with one gray eyebrow.
Oh, that guy, there's a guy in my neighborhood that, first of all, I live like 7 minutes from you, dude.
For real?
Yeah. Do your kids go to the school around the corner?
Yeah.
Mine too.
Wait. Oh no, we're at the middle school now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But you went to neighborhood?
Oh yeah, it's the best. Adam Carolla went to high school, grade school there.
Yeah. My girl's there right now.
It's
My
the
little
best-
girl
it's the
is in
best
preschool
school.
there.
Oh, you're gonna love that experience.
Yeah. Well, my son graduated. He was there for 3 years. He's in Carpenter now.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. This neighborhood's been really great to us.
I love it, man. This is like the young parent Riviera.
It's the best, and we're having a hard time because now all our friends are like moving out and getting bigger houses, and we just put the pool in, and part of us is like, like we don't want to leave because we know all the neighbors. We
Right.
walk the dogs. We end up talking to everyone. Our neighbor came by today with all this Russian gear.
Oh yeah.
And he just was like, I saw, we were driving down we were walking the dogs. His name's Philip.
I wondered if that said the machine in Russia.
no, it says the Braves, Atlanta
Okay.
Braves. And so his kids go to the same school, and he's driving down the street. He said, "Hey, I made these things. I want to drop them off at your house. You gonna be around?" And he just dropped off a bunch of Russian,
That's awesome.
Russian, American branded Russian. What's the name of his company? Whatever. It's on my Instagram. But yeah, it's
This is the only time in my life that I've ever known my neighbors. You know,
Really?
we know all of our neighbors. We do like progressive dinner parties and stuff. Our
Progressive
kids all
dinner
play in
parties
the
are
yard.
great.
And when we moved into this neighborhood right behind like Ventura and Laurel,
Yeah.
you know, and in the flats right by Carpenter. And first night there, we were walking our dog on the lawn. My wife looks around. She goes, "I feel like we just moved into a John Hughes movie in the '80s. Like this is just nameless, faceless suburbia. You know, it doesn't feel like L.A."
no, it doesn't.
And you can walk. I mean, we get to walk. People don't understand how weird an experience that is. Like to walk to the grocery, I can walk to Fryman Canyon. I walk my kids to school every day.
Yeah.
I can walk to Ventura Million Shops. Like you got to live like in Venice for that or Santa Monica for that.
You don't get this in LA or in Hollywood. I mean,
Right.
you can walk in Hollywood, but it's such a very different.
You're stepping over needles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's really great. We walk to Gelson's is our place, and I'm there so much that I know everyone.
Yeah.
But I love this little slice of life. My buddy's talking about moving to Lexington, Kentucky, and I was like, I don't know if I could do it.
My wife and I fantasize about eventually moving out of LA, you know, like we don't, we're like, 10 years and, are we going to.
But my wife and my bodies would be the kind of bodies that would move to Maine. You know,
Yeah.
like we don't have move to Colorado bodies because we're like, yeah, we just would not do shit in Colorado.
My in-laws live in South Carolina, and
Yeah, we could be South Carolina
dude,
bodies.
I made the mistake of picking up a real estate magazine. I was like, holy shit, I could buy a fucking palace for the cost of a down payment in LA, and be done. Just new dealer, everybody. Best of luck. I'm going on break.
One of my buddies is one of the wealthier dudes in an area. I won't say the name because everyone will figure out who that is really quick. Only because it's Tampa, but he bought a house. That
I just
was
came
like-
from Tampa.
Were you in Tampa this weekend?
No, I did. Last weekend I was in Denver, but I did Side Splitters there a couple of weeks ago. Yeah,
I'm in the Improv this week.
nice.
But he bought like a $5 million house, and they were all blown away. Can you imagine someone would spend that? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah,
I got friends
Here?
like that.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that definitely happens
Yeah.
pretty easy.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I think you'd be offended how much I spend for my house, considering how small it is.
Right. No, it's like, I mean, there are very stupid people in LA that spend $5 million on a house.
Oh, our neighbor lives next to someone. By the way, everyone listening to this goes, my house doesn't cost that, Bert. But I understand that everyone lives. But the neighbor next door our friend has a $2.5 million house, and I just was like, what do they do?
Right.
Like, how are they making that money?
Right.
Every week.
Right. That's crazy.
And they run NBC. So wait, when did you leave Talk Soup?
So, I left for a big development deal at ABC in '99, and dude, I would have stayed forever. I was having a good time, but they were in the late '90s. The guy that was in charge of the FCC, William Bennett, was doing a big crackdown on television. Like there was like a real concerted effort to crack down on the talk shows. Jenny Jones had that murder, right?
yeah.
And it was like all of a sudden people just decided it had gotten enough is enough. There had been like, at one point there was like 25 daily talk shows. I mean, it was just the heyday. It was a gold rush for us on Talk Soup. And then all of a sudden, they didn't want to see the fighting. They started cleaning it up. Shows started dying off. And that year, in January of '99, we did a live show in Chicago. And it was at the State Theater, right? Which is like where Letterman and Leno do their shows. And I remember waking up, and it was like 11 a.m. and I looked out and there were all these people on the street and I go, what's fucking going on? They were like, dude, they're lined up for your show. I was like, the show is not until 7. They were like, yeah, dude, they were lining up at 9. Ooh. And the line was wrapped around the block in January in Chicago, people in costumes and shit. And, we had like just a giant audience, man. We packed that place. And I remember being backstage and they were stomping their feet and chanting my name. And the girl I was with at the time looked at me and goes, dude, you're fucking Aerosmith. Like, what's happening, And I walked out on stage and I got a standing ovation when I walked out. And I remember looking out at my contract was up in like 5 months. And they had an offer on the table. I could have continued, but I knew that the talk shows were dying off. Yeah. And I was like, it's never going to be better than it is right now. Like, I will never... we're peaking.
I can
like,
hear your dad in your head. You should start a Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, right. So start making crullers and bear claws.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, I'm going to take this other thing. Like, I don't want to be the guy that just rode Talk Soup into the ground. You know?
Yeah. That's so smart.
And I don't know, man. I mean, so here's the biggest regret of my career. I leave in '99, right? And did this big, like, splashy pilot for it was basically going to be like a global version of Talk Soup, TV from all over the world, right?
Yeah.
But we didn't anticipate, or the producers didn't anticipate, the clips being so expensive, right? They were just too expensive. The show was not financially viable.
Yeah.
But the fucking pilot was, I loved it, it was awesome. And so at the time, I was with this woman and I was living in Hancock Park, which is like the heart of the Hasidic community, right? And I lived next door to a dude that was like 6'8", like maybe 320, and he was half of a set of the biggest Hasidic twins that you've ever seen in your life. Like that's like 15 feet of Hasidim. You know what I mean? It's a lot of Hasidim.
What a great word.
So I was like, they had called and told me that they weren't going to pick up the show, but it was going to air. But then I go, when are they going to air it? And they go, they're burying it, dude. It's like Saturday night, 8 p.m. on Labor Day weekend. And I was like, oh man, nobody's home Labor Day weekend, Yeah. And I remember saying to my girlfriend at the time, like, I can't believe I left Talk Soup and I did this big deal and it's not going to go. I'm so humiliated. I had a hit show. You never leave a hit show, Yeah. And she goes, dude, you're so overthinking this, man. No one is thinking about you, but you are,
Yeah.
Like just leave it alone. Nobody fucking knows. Just go on about your business, man. Nobody gives a shit. And I was like, you're right. And I walk my dog out on the front lawn. And as I'm standing there, big white Cadillac drives up and the Hasidic dude gets out. And as he's walking up his front step, he looks at me and he goes, hey, whatever happened to that pilot you did for ABC? And I go, they're not picking it up, but they're going to air it. And he goes, when? And I go, Saturday, Labor Day weekend. And he goes, and I walked into the house. I was like, even the fucking Hasidim know my career is over. It's the most cloistered community in Los Angeles. They know the word is out,
That's a fucking...
So it didn't go. So then I got offered, this is crazy, dude. I got offered $1 million a year to host America's Funniest. And I turned it down because it was Bob Saget
Yeah.
Okay, now you remember late 90s.
I can quid pro quo this.
Bob Saget was literally the poster boy, which is not anything about Saget. I'm just saying specifically America's Funniest. Puns, laugh tracks, gray-haired audiences.
It's his muscle. He's created the muscle that makes them laugh.
Right.
And you have to go in and do that muscle if you want them to make them laugh.
Right.
And now this is I'm gonna ballpark it in my head. We're the second guy on Talk Soup. Are you going to be the second guy everything you take?
Right.
What goes next? Family Feud?
Right.
Am I always going to be the second guy? I want to do my own thing. I want to be my own brand.
And I was getting big offers and stuff. But the big thing for me was it wasn't what I do. I wasn't that guy. I was in my early 30s. I had this following of college stoners, and I was doing dark, edgy material.
You weren't
on Talk
the pun,
Soup,
roll the eyes like that. I don't get the joke.
Yeah, to laugh tracks. I was and I had just enough integrity left that I was like, I don't know, man. $1 million is a lot of money, but not if it's the last money you make in your career, right? Who
did they end up going with?
It was John Fugelsang and Daisy Fuentes.
Oh,
and by the way, just not to try to vindicate myself, but the show was canceled after that.
By the way, I will say that I'm Googling because America's Funniest Home Videos is the show that made me fall in love with my wife.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was fucking arrogant when I met her about comedy. I was like, I know comedy. Crotch kicks, anyone? That's how they describe America's Funniest Home Videos. Alfonso Ribeira is the host now. Who was the host when I was on it? When I was watching? Here, cast. Tom Bergeron. So when I passed, right, and it was one of those. I remember I was in my car. I was coming back from an audition. My manager called me. He goes, "You're gonna believe this, dude. You don't have to take a meeting or anything. It's just straight offer." And I was like, in the car right there, I made the call. I was like, wow, that's so nice, man. Please tell them how grateful I am. I'm going to pass. Because I really just felt like it would be reversing field of what I did creatively so much. Especially at that age.
And then I was like, if I become that guy, then who am I? I can't go back and do the thing that made me successful. You know what I mean? And so... it wasn't I'd love to tell you, it wasn't even really a tough decision. Now, I've rued that decision a million times, but I was like, nah, I'm not going to do it. The show ended up, they did a year with John and Daisy, and then it got canceled, and then they brought it back with Tom, right? Tom made $1 gazillion and it ran forever. Here's the ironic part, man. 2 years ago, when Tom was leaving and Wipeout was over, I was like, that's my fucking gig. I'm that guy now. Now I'm older. I got kids. I just came off of a family-friendly show on the same network. It's the same audience. I've been writing family-friendly jokes on ABC for 7 seasons. This is me, man.
Yeah.
There isn't anybody that can put wood on the ball in this role like I can. And he didn't want to see me. And I had to fight to get an interview. And then I had to fight to get a screen test. There were 5 of us that screen tested. And I don't know if I'm out of line telling this story, but I walked out and I was like, dude, I can't do any better than I did on that screen test. That was a tape measure shot, Yeah. And they called my agent a couple weeks later and they were like, Vindabona was like, well, you were right. John's the best host. He's got the most experience and he's certainly the best comic. But we feel like we need some diversity and we're going to go with Alfonso Ribeiro. And I was like, you know what, man? God bless him. Good for him.
Yeah.
But it hurt hearing you had the best screen test.
You're the best guy for the job. It's just
we're just going to go with another guy because it's just too close. You're old guy with gray hair, you know what I mean? It just, so I was like, that son of a bitch, man. He got me back. But so yeah, that was the big, so here's a good story from turning down, America's Funniest. I lost my agency, right? My agency was done.
When you turned it down?
Goodbye. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Steven Soderbergh was at a party with his wife, who I used to work with, and an agent at William Morris was talking about me, and he goes, yeah, John Henson's career never recovered from turning down $1 million a year to host America's Funniest. And Soderbergh goes, he turned down $1 million a year? And the guy goes, yeah, you fucking believe that? And Soderbergh goes, that's awesome. and I was so vindicated by that, because now I got a deal with him I'm doing a project with Soderbergh. I got a true crime project with him.
Oh, that's
you know?
great.
And it's like, I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have that opportunity had I,
Yeah, you can't look back. I know you know this, but I'm saying this to people listening. You can't look back at the things you turned down. And I often think, like, when my wife dumped me, we were just dating. I fought to get her back, and I remember thinking at that time, I'm making a conscious decision to go down this path. I could very easily say that this is what the universe dealt me and go down that path, but I'm here. And the other day, I was sitting with her going, God, so much of my path has been dictated by her decisions in this path. Like, I always think, what if I had just sat in the closet that when she dumped me, I put my mattress in a closet, brought a television in the closet, and did what we call cave time, and was like, I'm hurting really bad. I need to heal.
Yeah.
And I couldn't rebound, and I was like, I need her back. And I was like, what if I had just stayed in the closet an extra week and said, don't worry, we'll get back on the horse. We'll figure this out. Like, where would I be? I don't think I'd have the friends I have. I don't think I'd be touring. I don't think I would have done a lot of the stuff. It's just timing is right.
Dude, I think that's you sort of following your true north, right? Like, there was something in you that was saying, no, I gotta, this is the play I gotta make, right?
Yeah, following your true north. I love that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you were listening to your inner compass.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I just talked to somebody the other day who's going through a divorce, and I took a mulligan, right? I mean, I got married my last year on Talks or 2000. I was married for about 6 years, and my marriage ended badly.
Really?
And my ex-wife, vice president of ABC, the network that I worked for Wipeout, for 7 fucking years.
Really?
Yeah, in my department. Vice president of alternative series and specials, dude. I was working for my ex-wife. Like, not directly, she didn't oversee the show.
Yeah.
But, like, she was in management at the network
And
in my department.
It did not end well.
No. No. And like scorched earth, right? I mean, you can't. It was literally. I pitched ABC a sitcom about a guy who has to work for his ex-wife, and they were like, "This is great. This is way too close to home, man." I changed her name by one letter. I was like, But my point is. As hard as that was, and dude, I mean, I wrote it down. Like, I circled the drain and went down.
Yeah.
And then years later, I would meet my wife, and now I'm fucking married. I got kids. I'm, like, so much of my life, so much of the most rewarding shit in my life would never have happened if that hadn't happened. And my wife has this expression that I love. Whenever she finds out somebody's going through a breakup, whether they did the breaking up or whether they got broken up with, my wife goes, "Congratulations, man."
Yeah.
And she always treats it like a good thing. Congratulations. Because if you're in a relationship where either you felt like you needed a change or they felt like they needed a change, it wasn't going to work. Burn off the fucking deadwood, start over again, and maybe be able to meet somebody who, is going to step up and be that person for you. Now, you were smart enough to know, Leanne is that person for you. And so you went back and you fought to get it, man. But, in retrospect, as bad as it was, man, and it was brutal, I probably owe my ex-wife a debt of gratitude because she was able to see how poorly we were a fit. And she was able to make the call in a way that I wasn't, you know, and I might have been dumb enough to throw another 5 or 10 years at that marriage and not have kids and all that kind of shit.
We went to when I first started dating Leanne, and this is once again I think I might have said this, but we were talking about America's Funniest Home Video. I had such an arrogant view on life. I had figured out life. I had figured out the tenets of life. Tenets of life, and that was never give up on anything, work harder than anybody else, and be humble. That was it. That was where I thought I had it. And so, but I really hung my hat on this Winston Churchill quote about never giving up. I really hung my hat on this quote. And we went to a party when we first started dating of this guy who was a stand-up. I wonder if you knew him, Brendan. I bet you knew him. He was at a bar. I bet you knew this fucking guy.
Brendan.
I'm calling Lee. I'm texting.
Brendan Fraser?
No, I think that. Hang on.
Brendan Hunt
Was Brendan the stand-up's name from Boston? And so he was giving up stand-up. It was a going away party. He was moving home and he was going to get a job, and he was done. I did exactly what you did. I go, I don't know if I can go to this party. I can't go and celebrate someone's failure. And my wife goes, we're not celebrating his failure. We're celebrating his bravery in choosing not to do this anymore. Imagine how great that is. He gets to start a life where his dreams aren't attached to his job. He just gets to Brendan McMahon.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so, sorry, Brendan, if I just shouted you out in a negative way, but he was a really cool guy. Great stand-up. And then he just pivoted and said, I don't think I can keep my dreams attached to this.
It's a very courageous choice.
It's a very courageous choice. And my wife was like, you're looking at this wrong. You need to celebrate his courage in saying, guys, I think I've given it my shot. I want something regular. I don't want something that's so up and down, and maybe this isn't for me. And then I was like, yeah, it's like those guys that'll tell people, hey, I don't think you should be a stand-up. Like I could never do that to somebody. Like I could never tell someone, I don't think you have what it takes to be a great stand-up, because I go, who am I to say?
Right.
You never know. Like I remember guys that you just go like, oh, I'll never have for that guy, and then all of a sudden they're on Last Comic Standing and they're the biggest fucking selling act on the country.
Right.
I could never tell them that, but there are people that'll go, no, you need to stop this person now, like the Simon Cowell effect.
Right.
Of like you shouldn't be doing this.
Right. I'm saving you
years of agony, and I never saw that, because I think if I saw that angle, I could have had an out.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I remember when I started out as a comic, when I moved to New York, I walked up to my first night in New York. I went to go see stand-up at the comic strip. And I asked an old comic, I go, hey, dude, there's an old dude, D.F. Sweetler. I bet he's still there. And I go, you got any advice for a guy just starting out? And he goes, he said 2 things. He goes, yeah, if there's anything else you can do, do that. And I go, I got to be honest, dude, I don't have anything else. And he goes, then don't give up your seat at the bar. Meaning like, don't quit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the guys that I started out with, you know, some broke right out of the gate and some took a long burn, but the guys that just never stopped, they all have great careers now. Whether they're touring comics, whether they're writers of films, or whether they're writers of sitcoms, or whether they're actors, they all found their level, you know what I mean? Because they just didn't give up. They kept their feet churning and kept developing. And, you know, now when people ask me, like, what's your advice? I always say, be prepared to eat a mile of shit to get within an inch of mediocrity. Like, just be prepared to put in years to, you know, of humility.
I did an interview today with a paper out of Philly. I'm doing the truck in February, and he said
that's a big gig, dude.
Yeah, we just added a 5th show.
It's awesome.
I know. I'm pretty. I
it's
don't
a warehouse.
Yeah. It's I got into this. He was like, you know, you're such a natural storyteller. And I was like, hold on. I was like, you know, it took me I did a year of telling the machine story before it got any good. And he was like, well, yeah, but the first time and I said, no, the first time you tell it on a podcast, it's good because it's natural and it's question. It's not, you're not forcing it. But I go, it sucked for a year on the road. And he's like, yeah, but how bad? I go, sucked like 2 minutes in. I was like, I wish I could get out of this, but I know I got to go through all the motions to get to the end to figure out what's good or not. And he was like, well, then what happened? I said, well, you just learned how to tell stories quicker and go, oh, okay, I have tricks now. But I bathed in failure in that story every fucking night of my life. And I go, that is the commitment you need to have, is get ready to suck and be very comfortable with sucking. Be very comfortable with I'm just not the best. Like going to the club and going, hey, maybe I'll never be the best here. Maybe I go to the fucking store all the time and I'm like a really good stand-up and I'm constantly 10th best stand-up of the night. Right. I'm like, wait, hold on. I'm selling tickets. I'm like, I'm really good at what I do, but never. I'm like, there's always at least 10 people better than me. And by the way, there's like 5 people that night just blow me out of the water. That is a little swing vote of the people that I go, whoa.
That's, honestly, dude, that's one of the reasons that I wanted to go back to stand-up was I wanted to earn it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because you can't fake it. You have to earn it, man. You got to earn your stripes. And I wanted to get to a point, and I knew it wouldn't be easy, you know? I wanted to get to a point where guys that were real stand-ups would go, no, you're a comic. You know what I mean? Not just I can do well in front of an audience, because there's a difference. You know what I mean? It's like in anything, you can see somebody do something and, whatever, extreme sports or something. There's guys that we might consider great skateboard riders, but the best skateboarders in the world would look at him and go, that dude's a bit of a hack. You know what I mean? So it's like, that was what I wanted. I wanted that humility. I wanted to climb the ladder again and earn my way back into that world.
It's a tough group because it's like I spend a lot of time nowadays. I spend more time in stand-up than I ever have. I probably spent more when I was younger, but I spend my time talking to more stand-ups and doing more stand-up and talking about the art form and it's I feel like I just got to be cool. I got to be cool always sucking. I don't if that makes any sense. I don't know if I ever want to be Bill, or Louis, or I mean, obviously everyone's going to hear that with Louis being negative, but Louis is still one of the best that ever did it. And despite what you think of what he did, his stand-up,
you got to be able to separate out the person from his level of artistry, because his level of artistry is
he was very vulnerable, and it's like a Lena Dunham-esque, kind of artistry. I don't know. It's hard to explain, and it's hard to quantify to someone who's not going to get it, who just goes, I don't know, man, jacked off for the chicks, I don't do it. And you're like, yeah, I know. You also don't sell out Madison Square Garden. Right. There's a little bit of that brokenness that you don't want to know all the secrets. Everyone romanticizes Chappelle disappearing to South Africa. I guarantee you, Dave Chappelle, there's a lot of that he doesn't want anyone to know because it's not pretty and it's not sexy and it's not the allure that it is, because he's a real artist who was breaking at the time. Yeah. And there's parts of every artist you don't want to know that's the dirty secret. And Louis shared a lot of his dirty secret. Did you know Louis coming up? Yeah. I mean, that was Louis was one of the dudes that, when I was in New York, it was Louis and Attell and, Dave Chappelle and Ray Romano and, I mean, it was, I remember being in the Comedy Cellar and in the early 90s, mid 90s, 92, 93, and 15 people in the audience, and I remember going, it dawning on me, oh my God, wait a minute. We are going to be the guys that go on to write and star in the sitcoms and the movies of this generation. Isn't that so funny?
Comedy, not to get, grandiose about it, but comedy is a very, very important role in a culture. It's almost like the conscience of a culture, right? Because what you are holding up for people to laugh at describes who those people are and what resonates with them. And like, you know, comedy surged during the Great Depression because people fucking needed it.
Yeah.
And so like I had this moment as like a 26-year-old drunken club comic of going like, there's something kind of important in what we're doing here. Like there's some nobility in being the guys that, you know, that go through this process to go on and, you know, entertain millions of people. Like we're all gonna go on to have our moment. Sort of that, like with the guys that don't stop are gonna get there.
I said that when I was with Dimitri Martin, and and Ray Romano had hired a Tell to fly out for $25,000 to punch up an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond, or a few episodes of Everybody Loves Raymond. And Dimitri said, you know, if we just don't quit, we succeed. And I was like, what? And he goes, if we just stick with it and keep coming to the clubs and keep writing jokes and keep working hard, we just succeed.
Right.
And I was like, really? He goes, all of us. Isn't that crazy? And I was like, yeah, as long as you don't quit. The guys who quit are the ones who didn't succeed. I don't know one person that Dimitri Martin and I started with roughly like 5 comics. One was this guy's name's Justin. I don't know what happened to Justin. He quit. Okay, he quit. Don't know where he is.
Right.
One was Ed Helms.
Owns a Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah. One was Ed Helms. One was David J. Nash. One was Dimitri, and one was me. Now I am the least successful of the 4, but I'm pretty successful considering that like like those are the people that started in that club at the time.
Dude, and you know, look, you said it earlier, like you were talking about, you know, humility and like gratitude. Like those are, you know, the older I get, the more I realize that, like, I know it sounds like all TED talky, but like humility, gratitude, honesty, service, and hard work. Like those are the things that I try to really base my life on. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like those are the things that I strive for. And I find like if I can be true to that, my life sings a lot more, you know. If I just stay humble, stay grateful, you know, stay honest, try to help everybody around me, you know what I mean? Try to be a good guy and work my ass off, I'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, no, wait. So what was like a bottom for you? Like where you're like, shit, man, what if I don't get another gig? Like, did you ever have those moments?
Yeah, like, so after that ABC thing and I turned down America's Funniest, I did a bunch of, like I have in my kitchen, I have a cabinet with like so many coffee mugs from failed projects and pilots with my name on them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I have the television show with John Henson, the John Henson Project, Talk Soup with John Henson, the television show with John Henson. Like it's just fucking, and I keep them around. It's like the tombstones of my career, you know? But
I wish I got very early, I got turned off from swag because I thought I was so like, I wanted to be so like disconnected from it. Dude. And I wish I had an X-Show hat and I had let
me tell you something. I did a show on Spike TV called The John Henson Project. Only ran 13 episodes, but we got tote bags made and I have a box of them and I'll give you one. It's the greatest fucking, if you can be the guy that has the John Henson Project stitched on the side of your tote bag, it's got a separate zipper compartment for the shoes. Fucking amazing.
By the time I got to Travel Channel, I would call them and go, hey, can you send me a swag bag?
Right.
And they gave the Travel Channel, back when they had money, had some fucking legit swag. There was this lady, Anna, who's I'm still friends with, and she would be in charge of swag, and she would be like, I'm making Timbuk 3 bags that are embroidered with Travel Channel. How many do you want? And you'd be like,
40?
Yeah. Oh, it was, and so I have everything Travel Channel.
Oh, it's so much fun.
But that was the best. They sent me I mean, their swag was the best. I got a Travel Channel GoPro. I got a Travel Channel iPad. I got a Travel Channel. Like, they would just put the emblem on it.
So I had this show called The John Henson Project on Spike TV. I'd done a pilot for Sony, a talk show pilot for Sony that didn't go. And they kept extending it because they were sure that they could sell it. Oh, just another month. And then after a while, they give me so much money, they go, just give us 2 more weeks for free. And I just, to see what would happen, I go, I tell you what, I'll give you 2 weeks for free if in failure, all the rights and the material revert back to me. Yeah. And I own it again. And they were like, all right, if we can't sell it, he's not going to sell it. And they didn't sell it. And I took that pilot and walked it right over to Spike TV and sold it.
Yeah.
And so right before I start production, they go, oh, by the way, we just became the first network for men. So just do me a favor and just make that, instead of like a pop culture talk show, make it like the Man Show, but don't go as far as the Man Show because we can't really go as far as the Men. I'm like, wait, what? So the show did not end up being what I intended it to be, but we did a lot of really fun shit. And on that show, I did a segment where I asked who in the audience, which one of my viewers would be willing to get the John Henson Project tattooed on them, right? Dude, there were like 400 people that responded to the ad, right? And like, easily 150 people followed up on it and were like, no, I will do it, right? Yeah. So we got this kid Tyler from Nebraska. This kid was he was savage. He had pierced his own nipples. He had given himself a Prince Albert. Ooh. Right? And then he had taken a fucking razor blade and bifurcated his own tongue. Like, he literally split his own tongue down the middle.
My asshole's tingling.
At this point, my buddies and I were like, honestly, I feel like this is a step in the right direction for this kid, right? We're like, I'm helping reform him.
This is the the safest thing this kid's ever done.
I'm bringing him back to the mainstream, right? Yeah. So we fly him out. Gets this fucking tattoo on his back. And I mean, it's big, right? It's big. The John Henson Project. 4 days later, the show was canceled.
I'd love to get a picture of that now, Travis.
So years later, I'm in Nebraska and in a restaurant, and this woman walks up to me and she goes, are you John Henson? And I go, yeah. And she goes, my brother has your name tattooed on his back. And I go, oh, yeah, hey, how's he doing? She goes, not good. He's dropped out of college, dealing drugs, gone to jail a couple times. Really? I was like, will you tell him I said hi? Like, all I think of is this poor guy getting plugged in the ass in prison and somebody reading my name on his back.
You mean the guy from Talk Soup? Is that who that is? Do you know him?
Poor guy.
I met him. What do you mean met him?
My buddy goes, no, he's fine. He probably covered that shit up with a swastika. He's all right.
Yeah. Just put swastikas on each corner of the brand. Hey, when you got that, when that show got done, did you think?
So, and then I was like, oh man, like I just, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then I got a job, which was like, for me, probably like you talk about eating shit, cash checks. I was hosting a show for TV Guide channel, which was like, I used to tell people that I had 2/3 of a television channel or 2/3 of a TV show, because the last third was the scroll telling you all the better shit on other channels that you should go watch instead of watching.
I had friends who worked on that, who did that. I had one that did that for DirecTV.
Yeah.
That was a legit gig.
So, but it was like, I mean, I ran my own show. I was executive producer and head writer, and banging out a daily show, man. And then that ended, and like 8 months later, I booked Wipeout. And,
what was what was the audition like for Wipeout?
It was my manager called me. He goes, I was getting ready to go. My now wife, who was then my girlfriend, and I were getting ready to go on a trip to Europe. We were going to Italy and France. Because when you're out of work, it's probably just throw a shitload of money at a European vacation.
13 grand.
Yeah.
I dropped 13 grand with out a job and I was like, I got 26 grand left. Let's spend half this on a trip to Italy.
Yeah, exactly.
We got it. Might as well spend it.
Yeah, exactly. Might never get a chance to do it again.
You got it.
So they were like, well, it's just, you're just making fun of people doing shit on video. And I was like, oh, well, all right, I know how to do that. And I go, are there any sides? They go, no, it's all improv. So I go in and
I'd love that audition.
and they showed it was like a 4-minute clip, and they showed it to me. And the guy goes, all right, you want to take a minute? And I go, no, bro, let's go, And I just riffed it. And I did I got this. I need to give Attell the shout out for this because I did or maybe, no, I guess it wasn't Attell. It was Larry Bird. When Larry Bird did the 3-point competition, you ever hear the story?
No.
I walked in, there was like a room of guys getting ready to audition. I did it not to be a dick, like I did it to be funny. But I go, which one of you assholes is coming in second? You ever hear that story about Larry Bird? He walked into the locker room during the All-Star game, and they were getting ready to do the 3-point competition. And he walked in the locker room and goes, which one of you assholes is coming in second?
Really?
Yeah. And I did it just as a joke,
Yeah,
But I walked in and I did it once, and the guy goes, do you want to do it again? I go, nope, I'm good. And I literally the next day jumped on a plane and I was like, playing it out in my head, I was like, they're going to fucking call me and they're going to say they want to see me again. And I'm going to have to pay to break my fucking ticket. I'm going to have to fly home at my own expense, ruin my vacation. I'm not going to get it. Like, that's the way shit goes in this business.
Very much so.
And I was asleep in Paris and the phone rang in the middle of the night and it was my ex-wife. And she goes, hey, I just want to let you know, I just became vice president of ABC. I wanted to tell you before the news broke. And I go, fuck, man. I'm up for, we had just gotten divorced like a year earlier.
Yeah.
And I go, I'm up for a fucking job at ABC. And she goes, I know. And that's why I wanted you to hear from me. And I go, all right, well, congratulations, And I hung up and I called my manager and I go, God damn it, man. Can you believe she just became fucking vice president of ABC? And he goes, are you sitting down? And I go, yeah. And he goes, you just booked Wipeout. And I was quiet for a second. I go, that is the only thing you could have told me to make me feel better. That was literally the only thing, Oh. So that was it, man. I came home and started Wipeout. And that was like, that was a trip in and of itself because when I started the show, they didn't want to do any jokes,
Really?
No, man. I was like, I thought I was going to get fired the first season because I didn't do the pilot. Somebody else did the pilot and they replaced him for the series. So when I got it, it was already picked up. It was going to, I don't know, they were going to do like 11 episodes that summer. And I remember like they would say in these words, they were like, dude, see dog, say dog. If Bert's running up the stairs, I want you to go. There's Bert running up the stairs. Stop fucking trying to distract people with your jokes.
That's what made it so great.
They were like, you're not the star of this show. The chorus is, you just stay out of the way. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's such a horrible note.
And I was like, dude, I feel like stupid people and children will watch this show if we just lay in a music bed. Why not layer in some jokes and like try to loop in a more discerning audience?
Or just, or like that was the best part. That was the best part of the show was the subtle what could possibly go wrong here.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, and in the first season we had to fight, and I mean, like, there were raised voice arguments to fight for John Anderson, my co-host, and I to have one back and forth in an episode. Like one, I say something, he says something, I say something. Like just that back and forth joke was like, we fought for that. And then as the summer went on, it started becoming more popular. And then like in some of the reviews, people started talking about the writing. And then like all of a sudden, they started letting out the leash a little bit. And then by third season, it was just fucking jailbreak. And they would let us do whatever we want. And I'm wearing wigs and costumes and doing characters and shit. And
what was the name of the girl?
Jill Wagner.
God, Jill Wagner. What's she doing now?
She is doing movies for Hallmark Channel.
Really?
And and she just got married this year. She's awesome.
Jill Wagner her interviews were so good.
Yeah, she was the thing that made Jill Wagner so good that people don't really, I don't know if they can appreciate, is that was a girl who all she knew how to do was be herself. Like you know what I mean?
Like I would even argue, like and I wouldn't say a bad host, but a not cultured, refined host.
She was just
literally
herself.
looking off camera at times.
Yeah.
To cameraman, like,
Yeah.
are we done?
Yeah, like it was, you know, it's. I mean, you know, because you do it, right? But the hardest thing in the fucking world is to be yourself with the lights on and the cameras pointed at you, and people go, and you're just supposed to be who you are and not be affected in some way. That's hard to do, you know? And so I thought Wagner was phenomenal at it. And, you know, the chorus was insane. The contestants were insane. You know, you had to peel me off the ceiling. Like, all we needed was a really pretty girl to be herself and laugh at how ridiculous
she was so good. Like, her interviews were like, I don't think this is going anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She left that show after like the 4th season, I want to say. And then they brought in Vanessa Manillo at the time, Vanessa Lachey. Mm-hmm. And she did a season. And then they brought Jill back. And that was like the only time I can ever think of someone quitting a hit show and then getting their job back. Like we're at a level from the production company to the network, everyone had to agree to eat a little crow and be like, no, it's better with her. We should go back to her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's crazy. Now, and you did how many seasons?
7. But 2 of those years we did multiple seasons a year. So like we did one was winter and summer wipeout. Then we did one we did winter into spring into summer wipeout. We were on twice a week in prime time on ABC for 9 consecutive months.
I remember the feeling I got when we go, it's a new wipeout. And my daughters would stand on the arm of the couch and we'd hit them with a pillow and they'd go, here comes the motivator. That was so fucking funny. What were the stereotypes that you would assimilate with? Because you watched every episode. You had to watch every episode because you wrote every episode.
Right.
What were the, like, I know for a fact whenever we saw big black women, that they would never do well on the balls.
Vonti McRae to this day is my girl. That is the single greatest. When people say there's a couple of clips when people go, what's the best you've ever seen? I think of Vonti McRae.
Vonti McRae.
Vonti McRae, VONTI. And I think it's MC, and then I don't know if it's KRAY or CRAY, but or CRAE. But she bigger girl. And she got hit by the motivator.
Oh my God! Hold on. This might be my favorite clip ever.
And there was so much mud stuck in her cleavage that when she got hit, it was like her cleavage. It was like her tits became a flume ride, and she just mud shot out of her one-piece bathing suit and gave her like a facial.
It was Vonti McRae.
It was the greatest thing I've ever seen, man. Like it just, you couldn't tell that there was mud in her bathing suit, but when she got hit, just mud shot out of her cleavage into her face.
Oh, Vonti McRae was so great. She might be the best motivator ever.
The other one that I love was because we were always trying to,
shout out to Vonti McRae.
Yeah, dude, the people got fucked up on that show.
Did anyone ever get hurt?
Oh. Bert. Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Real?
Oh yeah. Like, I always tell people whenever, like, if you're watching an old episode of Wipeout and it's like, oh, so and so quit. It's like, no, nobody quits. That means something's dangling. You know what I mean? We got to fish you out of the water with a hook.
I did. Wipeout started doing the I forget what it's called, but it's the raft where you sit on it and then something jumps on it and shoots you up in the air. I did that and I blew out both my hamstrings.
Oh, man.
I tore out both my hamstrings. Wait, here comes Vonti McRae on the motivator. My daughters and I must have watched this a million fucking times.
It's the greatest.
Oh my God, this one clip, my daughters and I must have watched a million fucking times.
I remember running into Johnny Knoxville one night, and he was like, he goes, I love Wipeout. I go, dude, it seems so tame compared to what you guys did on Jackass. And he goes, yeah, it's just fun to watch people get smoked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's really all it is.
Oh, Vontae McRae.
But we were always trying to get references in, like, they were real protective about what you could say in reference to people getting jacked. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't, nobody gets hurt. You know what I mean?
They wanted to keep it.
They wanted it. So we had like, if you face planted so hard that your back bowed up and the soles of your feet touched the back of your head, right?
Yeah.
We called that a scorpion, because that was like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'd make that scorpion body. So this woman face planted so hard, it was the single most brutal scorpion I've ever seen, and she just lay there flat for a second, and I go, oh my God, do we need to get new jobs now? And then she pops up, and I go, no, we're good. And they're like, no.
So were you commentating live, or would you?
No. We would they would, because there was like 60 cameras, and they'd have to get edit out the dead shit and get the best stuff together.
Where did you shoot that?
They shot it up in Santa Clarita.
Really?
And then they'd get it to us, and we would, the writers would, they'd give everybody a nickname, a handle that we would hang all the jokes off of,
So Jill Wagner would shoot her stuff.
She was there.
You'd pretend to.
Yeah, we were in a green screen and just, but we were working. Anderson would fly in to do the green screens. I was in the office working on the writing, and so we would, you'd be the party animal, or what I mean, you'd be the machine, and then every joke would be a machine-oriented joke, or that kind of stuff. And
I wanted to be on that so bad.
So we would, and that was the thing. Like, it's it's reality TV, so you can't. There's no writers.
Yeah.
Right. There's nobody writes reality TV.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to pay. So. People would be like, do you improv that show? I'm like, yeah, no, we just fucking seamlessly improvise 60 minutes of one-liners just back to back. Did it again.
Quickest man in America.
Yeah, no, never a moment of silence. Never one joke that doesn't work. Like, but so we would just go over and over and over and over. And I used to say we would probably write. Like, Talk Soup and Wipeout really made me, I think, a better writer, because Talk Soup was like, forced you to be prolific. If you get in the morning and you didn't like the script or you didn't like a joke, you'd be like, well, you got 45 minutes till you shoot it, so you better start writing, and then you couldn't mourn anything because you were just always working on the next show. Yeah. And then with Wipeout, we had 9 different executives that had veto power over every single joke. And they didn't, there was no table read. Half the time they were listening to an editor read a temp track. So it wasn't even my delivery. So and they would just send it out. It was like, so if you're sitting in a room with 9 people and I tell a joke and you don't think it's funny, but you hear 7 other people laugh, you're like, no, I guess that's all right. But if you're just sitting in your office and you just even write on a note like so much as a question mark next to the joke, you're like, is this funny? It's out. 9 different people. So we would probably write 10 jokes for every joke that made it in. So we started getting hip to that. And if I really liked something, I would hold it out of the script. And I would be like, I'm going to improvise this the day of the shoot.
So smart.
And then if they could hear me read it, and it got a laugh on the floor, there was a better chance that it would stay in.
My biggest mistake I ever learned in television was I would put all my good jokes in the rehearsal. So when I do the show,
right,
they'd fall flat.
Right. And it's your comic, right? So if you treat everything like you're trying to bring it every performance.
Yeah, and then I'd write new jokes for the fucking... I was with one of the guys from the Impractical Jokers, was a producer on one of my TV shows. Murr was and he was like, yeah, your rehearsals were so much better than the live show. And I was like, yeah, because I was trying to improv. I was improvising in the rehearsal,
Right.
and it would kill. And then I'd be like, "Oh, I'll just improv," but I'd already dropped all the first good jokes.
Yeah, I got in trouble on Talk Soup because my executive producer used to be like, do that bit that you did. If a take busted, I wouldn't repeat the joke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And she was like, do that fucking joke again. I was like, these guys have seen it, dude. And she's like, yeah, the audience hasn't seen it. And I was like, yeah, but I'm a fucking fraud if I'm trying to pass off something I just did
Stale
as
material
improv.
that
You know what I mean?
yeah.
It didn't feel authentic to me.
I get married to that shit way too much. So wait, what was the end of Wipeout? Like, could you see it coming?
We were like, it almost got canceled, and then we got one more season 7, what I call Wipeout season 7 cash grab.
Yeah.
and so that was like the season where it was like we were just, that year my wife had a birthday party where the theme was, this is a great fucking theme. You guys should definitely steal it if you're listening. She did a themed birthday party. Come dressed. It was a costume party. Come dressed as the celebrity that you share your birthday with.
Oh,
How fucking great is that? So look up who it was. Look up who you. Okay. So my wife went as like 1970s Cher, like long dark hair, exposed midriff, quasi American Indian Cher.
Yeah.
And I went as Yul fucking Brenner from The King and I.
Really?
And I had a friend of mine who is who you got? Who?
I can tell you who I'm going as.
Who?
Colin Kaepernick.
Yes, it's so easy. I mean, isn't it great?
Kaepernick, and now I got to really support him. Gabe Newell. Oh, these are fucking internet stars too.
That's so great, Kaepernick. All you got to do is put on the uniform and a big
Roseanne
afro.
Barr. Roseanne Barr and I have the same birthday.
Oh man, so you got some choices.
Adolf Dassler.
The Adolf Dassler?
Who is he?
So I had a friend who worked in makeup and
Adolf
film.
Dassler. You know who Adolf Dassler is?
No.
Adidas.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's so funny. I just watched. I think they have a movie coming out about him.
Really?
Yeah, because I just was like, wait, because it was two brothers that created Adidas.
Cain and Abel. He killed his brother Dave Hassler.
No, you ready for this? You're gonna go. Shut up. They got into a fight. One of them kept Adidas. The other one started
Pony?
Puma.
Puma. Oh, man.
I know, right?
Wow.
I know. I was like, shut up. So,
That's pretty amazing.
I think there's it was
That's awesome.
it's a movie I was watching. I think maybe about Jesse Owens.
Yeah, Jesse Owens.
And Jesse Owens' coach got him Adidas running shoes right before the thing, and the Nazi party had a problem with that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No.
So your wife threw this party.
So I did this. I had a friend who was a Hollywood makeup artist come and give me like a full-on movie level bald cap.
Yeah.
And it was so good, dude. I mean, it was so... I probably got a picture I can show you. It was so freaking good that literally before it was even finished, sitting in the makeup chair before the party, I called the fucking executive producer of Wipeout and I go, dude, we have to do a fucking bald cap show. And he goes, why? And I go, who fucking cares why? It's hilarious, And he goes, I don't understand. Why would you be bald? I go, I'll make up a reason, dude. Don't just trust me. And so they let me do it, man. They let me do a bald cap show. And I mean, it was like the whole thing. I think it started out with me being like, I think it was something like, John, I've come up with a revolutionary hair loss product. And he's like, that's supposed to grow hair, right? And I was like, okay. And then over the course of it, I was growing my hair back. I don't know. It was really weird, but it was fun, man. It was just like that last season, we were letting it all hang out. It was, that was probably my favorite season creatively. Like we just did stuff that I just, was howling over.
Oh, it's such a fun feeling.
It was, we worked really hard to like serve up jokes for kids watching, and then like every once in a while just fire a fastball over kids' heads that was entirely for the parents. And like I remember there was a guy who did his character was the Justin Bieber fan. He was like a grown man. I was a psychotic Justin Bieber fan, and And so I did a bit where in one of the green screens, John Anderson and I are doing a read, and I hear ice cream truck, and I go, ice cream, and I go running off stage. And then I come back sort of like looking a little messed up and confused and sad. And he goes, what's the matter? And I go, it wasn't the ice cream truck. It was the ringtone on the Justin Bieber fan's cell phone. And he goes, yeah. And I go, yeah. He said he had a bomb pop, but he didn't. And it was just this weird, like, whoa, what just happened on this family-friendly show? And so that summer, my wife and I go out to eat at Katsuya, the sushi restaurant. This guy comes over to me and goes, hey, you John Henson? I go, yeah. He goes, I'm the Justin Bieber fan. I was like, oh, shit, what is he, what kind of sauce has he put on my sushi, you know?
That's crazy. Now, what was the, like, what was your not, what is it called? What is it called when a gymnast sticks her landing? Not assault.
Dismount?
Dismount. What was your dismount, and what was your plan when you dismounted? Were you like, let's take a break. Let's not. I don't need.
Oh, dude, you know you'll get this as a married man. After that show ended, my wife and I go out to dinner. We do a date night every week, and we're sitting at dinner, and I'm like, bouncing off the walls, like, maybe I'll write a movie. I've never written a movie,
Yeah.
I'll write a sitcom. I've never written a sitcom. Maybe I'll write a sitcom. And my wife gets real quiet, and I go, what? And she looks up at me and she goes, just fucking host television shows. What the fuck is wrong with you? People want you to host television shows. You're good at it. They pay you good money. Why do you have to pick the one fucking thing no one wants you to do? I just started laughing. I was like, you're a good woman. Thank you very much.
Rogan and Bert said that to me one night in the green room at the store. They were like, well, hey man, like, your show's not that great. Like, why don't you just do stand up? That's the only thing you're good at. And I was like, huh? And they're like, it's nice to have a TV show and all, but like, how much money do you need? Like, just do stand up. I was like, yeah, I guess I am better at stand up than I am at hosting mediocre branded content. Like,
right.
Like, I should just do. And then I fell off a waterfall, and all my fans were like, hey man, we don't watch your show. All we like is your podcast and your stand up. Just stick with that.
What, you fell off a waterfall on the show?
Yeah, I fell off a waterfall on
how far?
15 feet onto my back.
Onto what?
On a rock.
What?
Yeah. And it was really bad.
You landed on your back on rock?
Back, yeah. And it was really bad. And I'm
surprised you didn't split your head open.
I'm surprised I didn't break my back. There's a lot I'm surprised I didn't do. But
were you a little lubed up? Was that it? Was it sort of like the drunk driving accident? The guy doesn't get hurt because he's so limp.
I was definitely hungover from the night before, but no, I was not.
Right.
I was in a really great mood that day because, except I had a panic attack. So my dry suit was a size large, and I was an extra large, so it was really tight on me. So I was having panic about being in this dry suit. But other than that, I just fell and I posted a picture of myself in a neck brace on Instagram and saying that I gotten hurt, and the comments were like, hey man, no one gives a fuck about your stupid shows. No one cares about your show. They're like, stop hurting yourself, stop putting yourself in these situations.
That's sweet that you get that kind of love from your fans.
And you're like, and part of me was like, wow, but wouldn't you watch it a little bit?
Yeah. All you hear is the negative. Hey guys, I thought that
I put a lot of work into this show.
The network's notes were really good,
and the network chose to move a different direction and keep me on the network, and I think might have been the best thing that ever happened in my career.
Right.
I'm so grateful to them for that because I would have stuck around the network. I would have just kept doing. It was a sure.
It's easy to take the path of least resistance, man.
It was very easy, and I was not. I'm a least resistance guy, and it's been 1 year since I've been on that network. I've made more money this year than I'd ever made in my life. And
how
I was
awesome
like,
is that?
And it's
probably more creatively fulfilling. Too,
100% more creatively fulfilling. I've had more fun online. I've had more fun with the podcast. I feel autonomous. I feel like no one can fire me, which is a really nice feeling. I don't feel like I have to say things within in context to what the network wants to hear me say.
You don't have to compromise at all creatively.
I wouldn't have a problem. Like took a meeting with Game Show Network right after I got out, and they were like, well, we want you to do the show. And I was like, I'm going to pass. And then my manager was like, just so you know, they shoot them in like 2 weeks.
That's the thing, man. I did a limited run for a test run for a game show, first run syndicated game show created by Judge Judy this summer. And I was like, oh, this is, first of all, that woman just prints money in her basement.
Yeah.
And second of all, you shoot 34 weeks of it in 2.5 months, and then you just tour and
then you're done. And it's, by the way, like I was talking to someone, I remember someone, I won't say his name, but he was like, he told me he made $700,000 in like a month because he just did the one show and they just shot like fucking 3 episodes a day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yep.
And he just shot the whole, and I was like, in my head, I was like, I could do that for a month.
That's it. A month. And then 2 weekends a month on the road. And you know what I mean?
I like where I am right now creatively with where I don't feel like I felt like when I did my last special, I was still under the thumb of Travel Channel.
Right.
And I was a little nervous. And then by the time it aired, we had parted ways. But I was like curious if that was the reason we parted ways.
Oh, because you were going to do a stand-up special.
Because it was coming out in November, and they were like, I think we're done with you. Because they were like, we don't want to be responsible for what fucking content. Like, and so.
Right. Your career as a stand-up was getting big enough that it might cast a shadow on what they were doing. And
yeah. And now not to say this arrogantly, but I'm bigger than the network in a whole.
Oh, yeah.
Like I do this thing, Google Trends, where you can tell the popularity of things online.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And Anthony Bourdain left Travel Channel when he was bigger than them on Google Trends. Oddly enough, the day he left, he was bigger than Travel Channel. And I thought to myself, note to self, if I ever get to a place where I'm getting bigger than the network, I should leave.
Right.
And then, sure enough, 2 months after they fired me, I was bigger than the network on Google Trends. And I was like...
Right.
I think that network might have been holding me down.
Right.
And so like I'm big on Google Trends. Everyone that listens to the podcast knows that I'm
even afraid to look and see how irrelevant I am.
No, it's not. It's not a fair representation. I have to say that because I do notice that if I am putting out more content, meaning like it just is. It also is very vastly affected if you're putting out content on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
Right.
If you're doing big podcasts, like if I do, Rogan on 1 week, then all of a sudden I'll notice that my Google Trends will spike. If Tom and I get into a heated argument online, it's a joke argument, that'll go big.
Right.
Like if you do like Elliot in the Morning or Cowhead or like a big radio show, Preston and Steve, that'll go big. And then if you have big ticket sales, like I just added a second show to the Wilbur along with the fish show to the Troc, and so that all of a sudden is
pops up.
It's worth 1,000 extra people going, I'm curious to what he's doing.
Dude, I was trying to get a hold of Tommy when he was talking about Steven Seagal because I got a great Steven Seagal story.
What's your Steven Seagal story?
So, I haven't mentioned any names, but so I know a dude who I used to be close with years ago, real like wacky left-wing 60s lawyer, dropout, retired at 50. Married a former Thai prostitute and moved back to her village in Thailand. Right. Yeah. Bought himself a fucking compound in Thailand. This dude is out there, right? So giant 12-foot high walled-in compound, 4 or 5 houses, built himself a scale monolith from 2001. It's like 20 feet tall. Built himself a 20-foot high steel reinforced Chicago Cubs baseball with a logo on it. You know what I mean?
Like this guy a lot.
Like he's just out of control, right? And all he does is just sit around and smoke hash all day.
Really like this guy.
He used to come and see me in L.A., and I would get him like a 1/4 pound of just the most rank California skunk weed, and he would be packing it up to bring it back to Thailand. I'm like, dude, it's a fucking killing offense in Thailand.
Yeah,
right?
you got to be able to get Thai stick out there.
And he goes, dude, I'm the only person in the world that's ever smuggled drugs into Thailand.
Yeah.
So he had this whole system, right? So he'd bring back Foot Lockers. He'd come here and get supplies and stuff, canned soup and shit and, toiletries. And then he would bury this weed at the bottom of it, and then he would make sure on the top of every single, right at the top of every foot locker, he would make sure that whatever it was, when they opened it up, it was something that they would want, right? Like he would have like 20 bottles of Jack Daniels, like just 25ths of Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
Or like he would buy like 400 glow sticks. Right. And, you know, they would open it up and be like, what's this? And he'd be like, snap, shake it up, and it would glow. And they'd be like, oh, and he'd be like, here's 70 of them. They'd be like, fucking, you can go. You know what I mean? Yeah. So he had it like, you know, he had a buddy that, you know, this French dude who owns a fucking brothel in Bangkok, like the premier brothel for what they call Falong, white foreigners. Oh, yeah. And, fucking big yellow line painted down the wall. You go in there and you ring the bell, and the girls come and line up, like 30 girls on the wall. Girls on the left side of the wall, 2 input. Girls on the right side of the wall, 3 input. Like you take 2 at a time. I mean, this dude was out there. Yeah. And, you know, they had it wired, man. They'd meet him on the fucking tarmac. He never, you know, so I would go see this guy, and he would be like, hey, I thought we would like bribe Burmese officials and take a dragon boat up the Mekong River and go to an illegal casino and play baccarat. And I'd be like, fuck yeah, man, let's do it. Like the next thing you know, we're giving our passports to like a 18-year-old kid with a submachine gun and, you know, taking a dragon boat up to Mekong River. I mean, it was just insane, the shit that we did with this guy, right? You know, just getting so high our eyes were bleeding and flying these giant remote controlled planes out in the fucking rice paddies and stuff. And my brother flew one of those planes into his house, like did a total fucking 9/11. Like he's like, man, turn it. He's like, oh, I got it. Right in the house explodes.
A Randy Rhodes.
Yeah, totally. And then he's like, don't worry, I got another one. Came out of the house like 5 minutes later. So that guy became friends with Steven Seagal, right?
Of course.
And Steven Seagal, allegedly, Steven Seagal wanted his help. And by the way, this dude had like 3 or 4 wives. Yeah. Okay. So he said Steven Seagal wanted help building like a giant palace for himself where he could go and bang underage women. That was his thing. He wanted to go to Thailand.
That seems brand friendly with him,
right? and he wanted to get himself, you know,
God,
a little mama son, you know, and he was like, you know, the guy was like, yeah, I'll help you get a house and stuff. And then he was like, can you help me find some underage women? He's like, no, I can't, you know, I'm out.
And the guy's like, Steven Seagal's like, I'm gonna pass on the palace then,
right? I mean, that's
fucking crazy.
Isn't that crazy that he was like willing to throw money at a fuck pad in Thailand just so that he could go there and bang underage chicks?
I think I'm too much of a father to ever. If I was going to build a fuck pad in Thailand, it would be 45-year-old women, just younger than my wife,
right.
Not much younger than my wife,
right.
With just different attributes. Like I'd want one with no tits. I'd want one with a big fat ass. I want one
right.
with a tiny ass.
Yeah.
One with big fat tits. One with a broad nose. Like I would just look for.
Well, it's a weird cultural thing there. Like up north in the jungle, the women. You know, it's a patriarchal society. So you're supposed to provide for your parents. Your grandparents. You're supposed to support them.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys will sell their daughters into prostitution.
Oh, that breaks my fucking heart.
And so this guy would literally, like, if he found out somebody in a neighboring town was thinking about selling their daughter into prostitution, he would go and buy her from the parents and then just let her live in his compound.
Yeah, that fucking kills me. That's one of the things that I can never really rectify is the people in this country that piss and moan about, you know, the way, like the Louis thing and how that is such an atrocity. And I'm like, yeah, but like, no, I'm not saying that you shouldn't focus on that. Right. It was bad. It was really bad. And it was a bad work environment for a lot of women and wasn't cool what he did. It was a bad look for him, I think, professionally. But you know, if you spent just an iota of that energy on helping these poor young girls not get enslaved into sex prostitution, you could really be doing better for the world.
I got shit for a Louis joke I finally broke down and wrote a Louis joke
What was
on
that?
Twitter. It was, I couldn't help it. It was last Saturday. I think I was at Comedy Works, and I just wrote Louis C.K. brought a whole new meaning to the term standing O. Somebody was like, I'm really disappointed in that joke. And I was like, I get it, bro, but it's a good joke,
I had a lot of Louis jokes this week. I'm not going to not write jokes about it. It's part of what I do.
I had a woman come up to me after, so I got a bit in my act about, I have a golden retriever. I had a golden retriever. And I talk about the fact that, like, I go, my golden retriever get up on the bed with me and cuddle. I throw my arm over him. We go to sleep like that. And then there'd be that awkward moment when I'd realize that I'm more into it than he is, and he starts trying to get up and I'm holding him down, it's like this prom night struggle. Yeah. And I go, you got on the bed. You knew what was going to happen. and this woman came up to me afterwards and she was like, I enjoyed your show. I was offended by your prom night joke. And I go, I'm sorry to hear that. And she goes, you got on the bed. You knew what was going to happen. Don't you think in this current climate? And I stop. I go, look, I got to stop you right there. First of all, I'm a comedian. Second of all, we're in a comedy club. And third of all, I'm talking about a fucking dog. Like, lady, I cannot funnel my act through your fucking social justice warrior lens. If I remove everything from my act that might hurt somebody's feelings or might step on their sacred Indian burial ground, I don't have an act.
Oh, I can't. I will say this. I enjoy I much more enjoy the talking to me directly than posting a blog or trying to take down my career. I'm not saying that. I just say that I don't mind the back and forth. I had one girl say that a joke was offensive one time, and I was like, oh, I never really saw it that way. And I was like, yeah, that is a little below me. I was like, I didn't say thank you. She actually walked out. She berated me and then walked out.
Oh, in the middle of the show.
I know, at the end of the show. But then there's guys that say that don't get the punchline, and I had one guy just fucking get up and storm. A guy got up and stormed out with his buddy, and they were too drunk. They didn't get it.
Right.
But I can't. I don't do this for the few people that might get offended. I do this for the masses of people that go, it was a good joke. Oh, I get there was a joke. That's why we're here.
I wasn't rude to her. I go, look, you're entitled to your opinion. Like, cause she was going on and on for a minute. And cause after I explain, I go, it's a dog,
It's a dog.
And she goes, well, it's just like she started going on. I go, look, you're entitled to your opinion, but you're not going to talk me out of that joke. It's a good joke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like,
yourself.
I can't, you got to leave that shit at the door, If you come into a comedy club, it's like, when I started out in New York, I was dating a girl, and I dated her we lived together for like 5 years. Every comic knew her. She was around forever,
Yeah.
And like the day we broke up, man, every fucking comic in the world came up to me and went, dude, you mind if I ask her out? Like, they couldn't help themselves.
Yeah.
And I didn't blame. I laughed. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, we're going to have that gallows humor. We're going to make the inappropriate joke. And I'm one of those guys that kind of subscribes to the idea that anything can be funny.
Yeah.
Depending on the way you treat it. And, there's nothing that's like off limits. There's not
well, my kids are home? What the fuck are my kids doing home? All right, we should wrap this up. When the fuck did my kids get home?
Wow, what time is it?
It's only 2:20.
Why? What time do they normally get out?
3:00. Oh, is it Tuesday? It's early pickup. So you're just touring now?
Yeah, I've been touring, and I don't go out as often as I'd like. I should probably go out a little more.
No one goes out as often as I like, and everyone goes out too often. Like, yeah. I'm out too much, but I'd like to do more.
Dude, when you're like, I tried to, it's like I wanted to talk about this on stage, but when you're married and sober, there is truly nothing to fucking do on the road.
You better be into writing Yelp reviews.
It's just like, I'm like, to be a sober comic at this point, it's like, it's just fucking inspiration that I'm up here. I'm like that Olympic runner with no legs. Like, it's just fucking amazing that I'm out there.
I've been dabbling in sobriety on the road in that I don't usually, I try not to drink Thursday night. I try not to drink Friday night. Maybe I'll drink Saturday night, or I'll drink Friday and won't drink Saturday. But I just try to like be a little healthier now,
dude.
And it's just fucking
eating well on the road. I've tried to do that. Like, I've been on
eating well on the road.
I'm trying to do like a major health kick.
I'm going through candy bar phase right now.
Oh well, yeah, but you got to, man.
I can't stop
lean
eating
on the
candy
sugar,
bars.
bro.
I can't stop eating candy bars.
I'm doing this thing where I'm eating like 6-7 times a day. You know what I mean? And
I do that too, but they're huge meals.
Cracker Barrel,
yeah.
Claim jumper, yeah. No, man, I was up this morning, man. I got up at 4:30, and at like 5:15, I was like, I might as well go to the gym. You know, I'm
gonna run tonight. I'm running a half marathon Sunday, so I'm gonna run tonight. And then I think I may treat myself to half a Xanax this evening. And go to sleep good because I have an early plane flight.
Right.
And
you know what you could try if you've cleaned your system out,
yes.
It might work.
What?
Diphenhydramine. Do you know what this is?
No, but I'm running to GNC now.
No,
and
listen.
This.
Diphenhydramine is an over-the-counter sleep aid. It is the shit in Benadryl that makes you sleepy. Right, so if you remove the allergy medicine and you just have the diphenhydramine, if you go to like CVS and they have like CVS brand sleep aid, it's 50 milligrams of diphenhydramine. It's
diphenhydramine. I found it.
Yeah, it is non-narcotic. It is non-habit forming, and if you take 2 of those, bro, I guarantee you 2 of those will do for you what half a Xanax would.
I bet. All right, I gotta get going to CVS. Diphenhydramine.
It's worth trying it, man. I mean, that's like a.
So how much are you touring right now?
I was on the road for like 9 of 11 weeks this summer.
That's a lot, bro.
It is when you have little kids. I shot a show for the Food Channel. I did this thing called Halloween Baking Championship because I'm a whore.
You could kill those.
I did. You know what I did was last year I did Worst Cooks in America, they did a celebrity version.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
Dude, those are always...
But it was hard as shit, dude. I fucking cut my finger. I had to go to the emergency room.
Are you
I got
serious?
4 stitches. Yeah.
I'm trying to look for your tour dates online.
I got nothing, dude. I don't have any of that shit.
Really?
I know. I just finished and I got nothing. Because I had fucking cleaned the decks because I thought this game show was going to go.
Yeah.
And of course it didn't go. So now I got to reload. But I'm doing a benefit for my son's elementary school in the main room at the Comedy Store on November 30th. Are you in town? You want to do it? Are you in town on the 30th? It's a Thursday. It's me, you, Greg Fitzsimmons.
I am in Sacramento. I'm in the Calusa Casino on the 1st.
Oh,
so
be living large
1st.
there. Get yourself a little voucher for the restaurant.
Oh, have you been to Calusa?
No. But I just did Mohegan Sun last year.
I love
4 shows, 2 alcohol-related incidents, 1 arrest.
Oh, nist That sounds like the Mohegan Sun.
Anytime your audience is drinking free alcohol for 12 hours, you know what I mean? So I got that. I'm doing that, and I got a show coming up at Radford Hall this weekend, Saturday the 8th. But no, I got to reload because I cleared the decks thinking that I was going to be busy doing this game show, and then
right now it's a good time to reload the deck because this is touring season.
Right.
This is when it's fucking hot.
Right.
Summer's when it sucks dick. I'm doing a tour this summer, but I think a 5-week tour bus tour.
9 out of 11 weeks I get an idea of what you guys go through because you do far more of the road than I do. And that was like, you come home, you're there for 72 hours, you do laundry, you do dry cleaning, you repack and go.
You're giving me panic right now.
Right.
Because that's my this past week and then this week. And then,
right. And then at the end of the summer, I was like, I got a 4 and a 6-year-old. I'm like, you guys, I'm sure you remember me from photos.
I had a fucking knockdown drag out with my daughters where I was like, I just wanted them to go to Gelson's with me, and they didn't.
Oh, wait, I heard you talk about
Yeah.
this. What were you saying?
And I was like, hey, I get it. I fucked up, okay? I was on the road your entire childhood, and we don't have a relationship. But all I'm looking for is a connection when I'm home.
Yeah,
because I
you're
just want to connect every now and then. And then they were
Yeah.
like, I'd like
You're
to go to the store.
I
with you."
need this.
Yeah.
I need this. Didn't you like want to like watch a movie or something?
Yeah,
Was it, like-
yeah. We had to pick a movie, and they were fighting over what movie to watch. And I was
Yeah.
like, can't we just? And they were all like, sorry, Daddy. But I think I've given myself less credit. I think I was a better parent than I give myself credit for.
Yeah.
But I do feel a massive amount of guilt for being on the road much as I have.
Dude, like I just came home. I mean, I got back on Sunday, and my little 4-year-old, just like hearing Daddy, and like her running down the hallway and jumping into my arms, man.
I went to South Africa in 2006, and Georgia was 2.5, almost 3, and she was sitting at the foot of the stairs, and I woke up that morning having come in the day before and slept, not seeing her, and I've been gone for a month on tour.
God.
And I walked down the stairs, and she said out loud, Daddy, what the fuck are you doing here? And I was like, I live here. I was
Yeah.
like, wait, what do you mean what the fuck? Wait, hold on. Who's talking like this now?
Yeah.
But-
Dude, last night.
Oh,
at
my kids
dinner-
are here. Oh, shit, my kids are here and you're here.
Oh, yeah, go get
Oh,
them,
shit,
dude.
hold on. Give me 1 second. Oh, fuck. Georgia, Isla, Leanne, come here. Oh, fucking really? Come on out here. And you, Leanne, and you. What?
No
back in
respect.
the 50s, they would have been afraid of me. Oh, don't worry about it. We don't need to set up another mic.
What's up?
Isla. Do you remember a show called Wipeout? Shut up.
Oh, that one.
Do you remember the what? Here, sit with me. Leanne,
Hi, how are you?
this is John.
Nice to meet you.
John, you remember what TV show John's from?
Here come the motivator.
Oh,
Georgia.
so sweet.
Georgia, do you remember a TV show called Wipeout? This is John Henson.
Hi,
John
how are you?
Get in here. And everyone stop acting so coy. What's going on? You guys are acting like
By the way,
it's a hostage negotiation.
No, this is the kind of reception that I get when I'm in meetings.
Here comes the motivator. Do you remember that show?
Well, I remember Wipeout. I just don't remember that.
You don't
You don't remember
the wa-
Isla standing on the arm of the couch going, here come the motivator. And then she threw herself on the couch. You don't remember that?
Okay, well, I know what we're doing tonight. We're watching episodes of Wipeout. And you're going to go, oh my God, Dad, that guy was in the man cave? John
But
was
it's-
one of the two hosts. It was-
The thing is, I was never on screen, right? Because you're always watching the contestants, so you hear my voice, but I'm only, the green screens.
You
are
were on
very
screen
short.
every now and then. I remember.
Just at the
that
beginning and
two-shot.
ends of blocks.
Yeah.
But most of the time you're just hearing my voice. So.
Yeah.
But
So I thought this would be a bigger reception than it is, but I get it.
yeah,
Potato chips.
story of my life. By
one
the way,
time-
thought
one
it would have
time-
been a bigger reception.
One
I'm
time,
excited.
Thank you.
one time we were at a party and the dad from what was the name of that? Good Luck Charlie was there. And that was their favorite show. And I was like, hey, do you mind if I introduce you to my kids? And they were like, he was like, sure. I said, George and Isla, I want you to meet my friend, ... And they were like, hi. And I go, so you guys want to say anything? And they're like, no, can we go back and play? And they left. And I go, I'm sorry, man. I thought it'd be a big reception. I go over to Georgia. I go, hey, you didn't know who that was? She goes, no, it's the dad from Good Luck Charlie. I go, yeah, but that's like your favorite show. She's like, what was I supposed to freak out or something? I was like, yeah. TV was a big deal to me when I was a kid. They'd be more excited if you ran a Dunkin' Donuts right now, I think.
Yeah, because I'd have donuts.
Yeah.
We had a Make-A-Wish Foundation kid come to the Wipeout set, and it was this kid. I'm still friends with the family. It was a really kind of powerful experience. This kid was going through he had brain cancer, and he was a really sweet kid. But he had surgery, and he was, he had no filter now, and so he's just like standing on set and watching and stuff, and like he's looking around going, "That lady's fat," and we were like, "Whoa," and so they're, this is like his big day. This is the one thing that he wanted, and so they're like, "Hey, bring him down." They're like, "Hey, Gus, this is John Henson," and he just looks at me and goes, "Is John Anderson here?" And I was like, "You little," like it literally was totally over me, man. It was like his big moment. He's like, "Yeah, where's the other guy?"
Oh, that's so great. Well, I can't wait to watch Wipeout with these girls tonight.
We watched it every day when they were.
Oh, you guys are
every
sweet.
day. They loved it.
They-
She loved it.
Yeah. Well, if you guys go and download every single episode, I'll make about 40 cents. So,
Well, let's give you 40 cents. Dude, I have to thank you for doing this. This has been
I had
such
a blast,
treat.
dude. Thanks for having
I'm
me.
so glad. I think we went. I apologize for keeping you so long. I think we did about 3 hours almost.
Oh my God,
2 hours. So thank you, man.
dude, it was a blast. Thank you for having me. I'm
When
glad
you get
this
your
finally...
podcast up and running, please hit me up. I'd love to do it.
Yeah, I will
I would
definitely
love to
do that,
And
man.
I'm so excited for I really think the way this media is changing. I think that this is so right up your alley.
Yeah, dude.
if
you don't mind, I'm gonna call you about that because
Dude, I'm here.
I could
I'm here.
use,
We're 7 minutes
appointment-
away.
Yeah.
Not that close?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I live right behind Ventura and Laurel.
That's awesome.
And I got a kid in the school down the street, right? Didn't
You
these
do?
guys? Yeah.
In school?
Yeah.
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 Let's not say the name,
We
Leanne.
won't say
Yeah, I know. I think I said it earlier. I'm like,
No.
Right?
yeah, no, it's awesome. It's
What
fantastic.
name is it?
Isla, shut up. Jesus.
Your school.
Oh.
Don't say it.
All right.
On my shirt.
All right. Yeah, Isla. Okay. All right. John, it was great seeing you, man.
Excellent. Thank you, guys.
Hey.
So nice to meet you. Sorry it was so disappointing. And congrats on the new pool, guys. Huh? How about that?
I think someone took a dump in it because it's pretty cloudy.
Did he come by?
I don't. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did. And by the way, we were a little intimidated because he's really hot.
Who hired the pool guy?
I did. Duh.
Jesus. Eye candy.
I
Hashtag.
mean, what do you think I do when you go out of town? I just watch the pool guys. Better than the gardener.
Oh, is it-
Yeah.
All right, guys. John, thank you very much, man.
You got it, brother.